And this is a Fox News alert. There are new developments tonight regarding the Obama Justice Department's efforts to target Fox News' chief Washington correspondent, James Rosen. Now, earlier tonight, Fox obtained court documents that show the U.S. District Court seized phone records, including the lines that run to our workspace at the White House, the Pentagon, the State Department. Now, the records also appear to show that the Justice Department gathered phone records linked to Fox News executives. Here with reaction to this disturbing news is columnist, author, and Coulter. What is your visceral reaction to this? Because mine is like, wow, this is Big Brother.
Yes, and especially in the middle of all of these other things and the targeting of the Tea Party groups and the lying about Benghazi. I mean, the whole mix of it. And my first reaction to the Rosen thing is to reflect back under the Bush administration when many of the news outlets that are not reporting the James Rosen story, the only place you can read about this on Fox News.
Valerie Plame.
The New York, no, bigger than that. The New York Times was actually revealing national security that would harm all Americans, including the New York Times, by the way. They revealed that the U.S. was tracing phone calls that were found on terrorist computers. Remember that? After we got the first terrorist computers, get their cell phones, they started trying to follow who was calling these phone numbers. That was revealed by the New York Times. The New York Times also revealed a top secret to track al-Qaeda's financing, where their money was going. They were specifically asked, not only by Bush and Cheney, but by Democratic congressmen, please, you are going to put all of America at risk by publishing that. You had the Dana Priest at the Washington Post who revealed our rendition program and the, secret camps destroying, being held CIA prisons being in Eastern Europe, destroying our relationship with these very important allies who were doing us a favor. No, you people can't keep a secret. The Washington Post puts this above the whole fold on the front page. And I might add, Dana Priest won the Pulitzer Prize for putting America at risk. What exactly is the national security here? Because 2 weeks ago, when it turns out the Obama administration was tapping AP phones, at first I was totally on Eric Holder's side for the first time since he has been Attorney General, which is to say, look, if this is really national security, if this is going to put any Americans in danger, harm our national security interests, fine, then look at the phone numbers being called by AP. And then it turns out the Obama administration was tapping the AP because they didn't want to be scooped.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with national security, and I don't see anything in the Rosen case that has to do with national security
think about
here.
this. Remember David Sanger, the New York Times, information classified, reflects well on the Obama administration when they had their Iran kill list and Obama using drone strikes, and then SEAL Team 6 details when they killed bin Laden. Remember, Bob Gates had a fit, and he screamed, "Shut the blank up" to Tom Donilon at the time.
Oh, right. No, Obama himself will reveal actual national security information that will harm the United States if it reflects well on him. Yeah. But here in this case, what the big story that they're claiming was a national security leak is North Korea was going to start testing nukes again in response to UN sanctions. That is nothing like revealing a terrorist tracking program.
But this goes deeper. I want your thoughts.
And by the way, the Bush administration did not prosecute either the leaker or the newspapers in those cases.
But Rosen is doing what reporters are supposed to do. But this is how far they went. Aiding, abetting, co-conspirator in an espionage case.
Right.
And they're tapping our bureau, our Pentagon, our State Department, and our executives.
No, it's
wow.
From what we know now, it does sound very disturbing. Mayor Giuliani covered the First Amendment aspect of this. Yes, journalists have some extra privileges, but beyond the press privilege, you can't do this to any American unless it will harm national security. Yeah, and that is what the felony is. Where is the felony here, and why was no indictment ever brought? And it's of a news organization, and it's a news organization the Obama administration hates. You have this and them targeting the Tea Party groups and the Patriot groups and lying to the parents of the people who died in Benghazi and lying to all of Americans about it being some video made by an American. Are they going to blame all of this on the Cincinnati office and just some low-level workers?
Good point. I don't mean to laugh because it's not a good... That was a good line, though. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And welcome back to Hannity. We continue with Ann Coulter, Lois Lerner, Fifth Amendment. How do you read that as a lawyer?
Well, obviously, as Giuliani was saying, I've watched it before coming on. Yeah, I mean, you can only plead the Fifth if you could be incriminated in a crime, not because you don't feel like answering. So that does tell us something. One point is, I think Republicans, in light of the tornado, the media was looking for any excuse not to cover this anyway. They have the tornado. I think Republicans should say, look, this is important news. Because of the news value of the tornado, we're going to put our hearings off for a week or two. I mean, Monday, before the tornado had hit, the New York Times didn't manage to mention anything about the IRS scandal on its front page, and every time it does mention it, it's look at what Republicans are doing with this issue. I mean, this is a very important issue, and you know, back to blaming it all on the Cincinnati office, their claim is, from the New York Times, it was a very strange front-page article the Times had on Sunday by a reporter who's otherwise usually pretty good, Nicholas Confessore, and he apparently hasn't been following the news on the story he was reporting, even the news in his own newspaper, because he keeps pushing the angle of, oh, there was just chaos and confusion and they were overworked. The overworked excuse ought to explain why they were rubber stamping everything, not why they're going into overdrive and doing more work and harassing Tea Party groups and asking whom they pray to and what their tweets are and every member of their family and their resumes. No, they're saying we worked really hard to harass Tea Partiers because we were overworked. And then you look at True the Vote, one of the groups that applied for both 501c3, 501c4 status. At the same time, they're being audited by the overworked Cincinnati office. They are also being investigated by the FBI, by the ATF, because they were at a manufacturing plant with a license to make guns, so they weren't making guns. No, okay, again, does this all go... OSHA. Does this all go back to the Cincinnati office? There's only one person who is the boss of all those organizations, and the Congress better find out. They need to prosecute these low-level individuals in order to get them to get to where it came from.
Jay Carney denied anybody in the White House knew. Now, he's given 5 different stories about this, but now we found out that the president's lawyer, the White House counsel, and the chief of staff did, in fact, know, which Carney originally denied anybody knowing.
How many people directly associated with Obama have to know for us to assume, that looks like Obama knew? But the way you find out is by, look, these people broke the law, by prosecuting them, and unless you're going to get the Cincinnati office to take the fall for Benghazi, IRS, ATF, and now the investigation of Fox News, I think you're going to work your way up the chain, but the Republicans ought to put it off until next week because they weren't covering it already. They are definitely not covering it a few days after a massive, horrible tornado.
It's probably a kiosk's fault, an ATM machine's fault, a tsunami's fault, an earthquake's fault, Rush Limbaugh's fault, Fox's fault, my fault, your fault, Levin's fault.
But really, why can't Darrell to say we'll pick this up next week?
Well, I think they probably will. I have no doubt. But this is getting dicey for them. I only have about 10 seconds.
It's a disaster. All I have to say is I wish they would start tapping my phone because I think they'd find it very edifying.
Okay. They might learn something. Okay. I don't want my phone.
Leave poor Jim Rosen alone.
All right. They might catch us cursing occasionally. But all right.